In the last episode, podcast 107, we talked about psychopaths being drawn to power and drawn to money and drawn to whatever they wanted. Since you don't have a conscience or any empathy to get in your way, you can just go for the gold. And I also mentioned that Kevin Dutton, um, an expert on psychopathology, did a survey to find out in Britain um, the professions or the walks of life that was most populated by psychopaths, and then naturally became the CEO of a large company. Um, I'm sure that would equate to the CEO of governments, the prime ministers and all those things. So psychopaths are really drawn to power and influence professions, and if the person that's in control of that power structure isn't a psychopath, the psychopath will take over. Psychopath doesn't play by rules. They can do anything. A normal human being in a power position like that would be powerless to resist a psychopath. So I think it's no stretch of the imagination to think that all the big power players in governments are psychopaths. I mean, there's so many examples of so much behavior. It's kind of a thing. Yes, all the power players in major governments have got to be psychopaths, or they would be replaced by psychopaths.
Yeah, that seems clear even to me.
Right. So I'm sure that, well, you might not be aware of this statistic. I am, because I put it in my book, which is called Belief Magic, available at Amazon.com.
Or on our blog.
You're right. At governments between the years of 1900, world governments, and 1987, killed 169 million people. Governments kill people. Governments.
And that's not even in wars, is it?
No, that doesn't include wars.
Wow, so that's like what, like political enemies?
Political enemies. Well, of course, you've got Pol Pot and Hitler in that time, and they were really big contributors to those numbers. But still, most governments run by, well, government is, I think, has got to be a psychopathic organization. Would attract psychopaths and behave in a psychopathic way. I think they do. That's why they kill so much. They love killing. I'm looking here at necrometrics.com, and estimates on the Iraqi war deaths. That says between 10,000 and 100,000 killed, but I think other estimates have gone up over 1 million killed in that war. It's government. Actually, that's a government fighting itself, actually. There was really no opposition in that war to speak of. Another psychopath, Saddam Hussein, was in charge. And I'm noticing that the Mexican drug war from 2006 on has cost 47,500 lives, and I think that's from a January 11th, 2012 Associated Press report. Now think of that. The drug war only is fought because of our insane policy on drugs. Most of the drugs are imported by the government. So all these casualties are totally trumped up by a bloodthirsty psychopathic government. It seems obvious to me. Well, anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
We have a couple more things. One more thing. The last trait that a lot of psychopaths have, not all of them, is that they're superficially very charming, because this is how they make their living. They've studied. They know their prospects, and they're going to move in and get power in any way they can. engaging, seductive, or if I have to be, I'll be brutal. But
Whatever it takes to get the end result, the end
Right.
goal.
So anyway, let's move along and look at psychopaths through another lens. This is the lens of science. Science really doesn't know much about the psychopath. It's getting to be a hot topic now, but not much is learned. They put psychopaths through EKG tests, and they noticed that there were a couple regions in their brains that didn't fire off normally, the way a normal person would. And that's the amygdala
What, Jim?
and midula, the frontal lobes and the limbic regions. Now, the frontal lobes, that's the most advanced region of the brain. It's involved with movement, decision making, problem solving, planning, and personality expressiveness.
Okay, so theirs are significantly different
There's a
than the
significant,
norm?
yeah, what happens is when they're given certain stimuli that would activate these parts of brains in a normal subject, not much happens in the psychopath's brain.
Oh.
And also in the limbic regions, which control emotional behavior, of course, motivation, long-term memory, and surprisingly enough, here's one, and the olfactory sense.
The olfactory sense, that's a sense of smell.
Or taste, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know, I was wondering, you know that they give a test for people who want to enter cooking school,
Yeah.
and they have to have some special taste perception that's only available to 10% of the population. So if I wanted to get into the CIA, I mean the Culinary Institute of America, I would probably have to take this taste test to show that I have one of the things, I can taste well enough to be taught how to be a great chef.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what if we did something like that for psychopaths? You know, it could be like a taste test or a scratch and sniff kind of test.
You mean select the people in our own life to see if they're psychopaths?
Actually, yeah,
We're not sure?
you could do it surreptitiously. Just have them, I don't know.
It's like you have a feeling that somebody that you know might be a psychopath, so you play a little parlor game with them.
Yeah,
and say, hey, try this scratch and sniff.
Yeah, smell this.
Uh-huh.
And if they say, hey, what do you mean? I can't smell anything. They'll know you've got me.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't you say that they have to have like 26 out of 40 something? I mean, not everybody that can't smell is a psychopath.
No,
It would just be one indicator.
No, matter of fact, I know people who are not very close to me that don't have a very good sense of smell.
Right, like me, for instance.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I'm a psychopath. In fact, I know I'm not a
I
psychopath.
don't think you're sensitive. But anyway, back to the...
Yeah, where were we? We got really off
Well,
track
I want
there.
to move on to origins. Where do these people, why are these people? You know?
Okay.
Is there a biological precursor, or why do they pop into existence? And it seems to be random in a certain way. You know, the normal people can give birth to a psychopath, and psychopaths who, incidentally, have more children than most people.
Do
But they don't, you know, they don't have to be giving birth to a psychopath. Probably most of them, it'll probably come out at the same, you know,
Same
1 in 100. Yeah, same percentage. Now,
yeah, but growing up with psychopath parents would have to have some kind of influence on you,
yeah,
one way or the other.
you're right. You're right. Who knows? But I think that there are certain bloodline families that have a predestination or a predestined proclivity for producing psychopathic children.
What would make sense, but I don't know. I think there's probably a few that escape it, but maybe not that many.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just look at some of the families surrounding the presidents of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
and you could find, you know, and then they show you that they show. I'm sure you everybody's seen this graphic where all the presidents of the United States are all related, and all the people that are running for office in the United States are all first and second cousins of one another.
Yeah.
So it's all like the same bloodline people producing these psychopaths.
Yeah, I guess so. It
But
really does seem that way.
but you can be born anywhere and rise to the occasion, because I'm sure that there are many mechanisms that psychopaths that run governments and organizations set up to try to find other psychopaths.
Like Skull and Bones, secret society kind of.
Yeah, like Skull and Bones, like the Masons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not sure you can get to be a 33rd degree without being. Why would they let you into the 33rd degree
Right.
if you were a psychopath? What good would you do? All right, well, let's continue on. There's another debate. Is it nature or nurture? You know, are they born or made? And certainly there are situations that would cause someone to maybe be damaged and display psychopathic tendencies.
So what's the scientific thinking on that, or is the
Well,
jury
there's
still
no
out?
scientific thinking on that. There's been plenty of people that were raised in really horrible environments that have turned out to not be psychopaths. And then there are certain psychopaths that came out of, well, many of them come out of very wealthy, very entitled families.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to look at it is through the lens of mythology. And I've got a little section of a talk given by Thomas Sheridan on what he thinks about the mythology of psychopaths.
Well, I love to hear from Thomas Sheridan. Let's listen.
Histories of my life. Now, I do have an interest in this stuff myself, and if you look at true mythology, everywhere, the psychopath is all over the place. In fact, it takes up a huge bulk of the canon of Western mythology, in everything from Gaelic mythology, which is full of them, to things like Germanic fairy tales from the Renaissance period. Now, what makes this especially interesting is that the motif is always the same. A pathological envy of human beings. Very common with psychopaths. Also a very common description of the fairies and the fairy folklore and whatever. You have these sort of like metaphysical, non-reality grounded beings. And this was something I've been thinking about for many years after reading John Keel's book, Our Haunted Planet. And I've always been at a wonder to know why we're suddenly diverted into this world of aliens and space visitors when we have thousands of years of this vast canon of human mythology telling us, no, these things live around us. And there's definitely a link between this sort of archetypal predatory consciousness and the psychopath. And like yourself, I'm not going to say I know everything about it right now. We're all still learning, we're all still looking. But more and more now, after God knows how many years, 20 years of me researching into this stuff, the reduction of scientific viewpoint ran out, the brain chemistry scientific viewpoint ran out, and now I'm finding more and more that mythology, philosophy, and even spirituality is where the real answer to this question lies.
Well, those statements by Thomas Sheridan certainly puts our discussion of the psychopaths in a whole different realm. They've been around forever, and there's something that human beings have always had to deal with, but I think even more important, how we have to deal with it now.